Hi guys, Brain here, and welcome to another commentary video. Today we're going to be talking about how strong builds stunt your growth, because there's something that I've seen kind of semi-frequently when it comes to the match reviews that is a problem that I see enough that I feel like I would rather make and kind of dedicate a completely separate video to it. That way, a lot of you guys who are trying to improve and be more consistent in Killer can kind of take a lesson from this, because it's a problem that I see not only in my match reviews, but in other people trying to improve it Dead by Daylight across the community as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it. So, in my match reviews, one of the things that I see it's semi-consistent. It's not like every game, but one of the things I see a lot is people, when they submit a match review, they'll bring in like 3 to 4 slowdowns. They'll bring in 3 to 4 slowdowns. So the triple quad slowdown will be like triple slowdown in a chase perk, or it'll just be outright quad slowdowns. And the reason they do this is because, obviously, if we're looking at the match reviews, the point of the match reviews, the main goal of the match reviews, which we record on Mondays, by the way, at twitch.tv/TheMrHeadache. If you want to submit your own match, every single video, including non-match review videos, do have a link to the Google Forms where you can submit match reviews for me to look at. So yeah, that's where those are. Anyways, what I see a lot, the point of the match reviews, is the name of the game is consistency. I want you to be able to get consistent results. So I don't want you to win just one time because you got lucky, or one time because of a build per se. I want you to win because you are able to, by and large, for the most part, go into every game and do good things that build good habits that you carry into every game, that, you know, you can win the game based off of your skill, more so based off of what necessarily that you bring. Especially when it comes to killer match reviews, where, you know, survivors are kind of just like, you kind of have to like preload your build. You can't really like react in the moment to the flow of a game. You, as killer, you have the ability to react mid-game to the level of sweatiness that the opponent is pulling on you, whereas survivors really don't have that unless they're in 4-man on comms. Even if they're 4-man on comms, if they didn't bring the right builds, a lot of their situations can fall apart. Killer, you have the availability and the adaptability to actually change the way you play mid-game. And builds aren't necessarily always going to be able to do that for you. And what I see a lot is, I think a good example would be a character like Pinhead. I think a character like Pinhead would be an excellent example of this. There are Pinheads that I see, not in the match reviews, because we haven't actually had a Pinhead match review yet. So if you like Pinhead, maybe submit a match review, because I would love to review one of those. But Pinhead's a great example of this. Pinhead is, you know, a fairly complicated character. He's not simple, but he's definitely not easy either. And it gets into deeper things like box logic, and his M2s are kind of hard to hit if you're not used to them. And what I'll see is a lot of people that'll, like, you know, try to get, you know, start getting into Pinhead, is they'll put on, like, you know, triple quad slowdown, but like they'll go into their matches and they'll be throwing out their M2s, they'll be throwing out their chains, and they'll be like missing all their chains, right? They'll be missing like all their chains, or throwing them at really, really bad times, like throwing, like, most people don't understand that with Pinhead, when you're throwing your M2, when you're actually trying to, you know, summon some chains, you stop. like when you're pulling up your little thing and you send out that little node to shoot a chain at them, you are stationary until that chain flies out and connects with the survivor. So I'll see like Pinheads doing that like really, really far away, like at the edge of like the field of view, which is like, okay, well, why did you do that? Like, just get a little closer and then do it. But like, there's a lot of little things, just with even like the M2s, that I don't see them do. Or like, we're not even getting into box logic of understanding that like there's a big radius around you at which it can't spawn, there's a small radius around the survivors at which it can't spawn, search the negative space between. And I just, TLDR, I don't see them do any of this stuff. I don't really see them do any of this stuff, and which is fine if you're not trying to get better at them, but a lot of people are. A lot of people are, especially since my buddy Field Agent Reaper is putting out a guide for him soon, has been kind of like trying to make more of a splash in terms of like, you know, there was a Reddit Ask Me Anything he posted after he got his 224 win streak on the character. So a lot of people are trying out the character right now, but I'm seeing them like not do any of the good stuff that makes a good Pinhead good, but they won't necessarily lose the match, or they'll get a 3K barely, or they'll get like a 2K. And it's because of the builds they're bringing. It's because of the builds they're bringing. Because they like, they'll go over and watch, you know, Reaper, who's playing his, who is rebuilding his win streak, by the way, and see him running like sloppy, pain res, dead man switch into Jolt, right? And they're like, okay, well, that's the build to run on Pinhead. But what that does is actually kind of unintentionally stunts your growth. Because what happens is if you're consistently seeing that 3K-ish like performance, you're going to assume that you are performing well. Because naturally, like, you're getting the W, right? Like, you're getting the dub. So, like, ergo, I am doing well, right? Like, there's nothing wrong here. But once again, like I said, I'm in the background. I'm watching you miss a bunch of M2s, missing a bunch of summons and chains. You're not really looking for the box. Your box logic is garbage. And what's going to happen is you're going to end up running into really good teams, or even moderately all right teams. I'm not even saying like good teams like 4-man Swifts. I'm talking just like individual survivors that just get a good queue and just all happen to be moderately good at the game. Those, you're going to run into those matches, and those people are going to shut you down. I'm going to be straight up with you. Those gamers are going to dunk on you. They are just going to absolutely dunk on you. They're just going to mess you up. And there's no two ways about it. That is what is going to happen. You are going to lose those matches really intensely. And I see a lot of, unfortunately, I see a lot of killer mains like kind of like, you know, go back and, you know, okay, well they were gen rushing, or it was Garden of Joy. Garden Joy is a terrible map, which, you know, it is for killer. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not. But they start blaming like everything else besides the mistakes they made, because they're so self-assured that they're so good at the game, because they've essentially been lied to. They've been getting, you know, essentially false readings, false reports that they've been good this whole time, because you're, you know, if you're getting Pain Res, Jolt, Deadman's, and Sloppy on everyone, and you're getting it throughout the entire game, your perks are kind of carrying the game for you. Even if you're not necessarily hitting every M2, if you're not hunting down the box all the time, you're going to be able to buy that time back where you made mistakes, because you have enough slowdown to literally slow down the game to account for your mistakes. This is not too similar to like just wearing training wheels on your bike. Like putting training wheels on your bike, you're never going to fall off your bike, but somebody who actually knows how to ride a bike and doesn't have the training wheels on will beat you in a race every day of the week. Every day of the week. It's probably better you just learn to ride your bike without your training wheels so you can match the speed of the other guy. But no, you're just going to keep riding your training wheels, because as long as you're not falling off the bike, as long as you're getting your dub, you don't really care until that other kid flies by you, isn't using his training wheels, right? It's kind of like the same situation. It's often better to actually take the pain, take the L, and actually get good at your M2. Actually get good at hitting your hard to hit power, or learning something complicated about your character, like blood economy on Oni. We talked about botch logic on Pinhead, stuff like that. Learning the harder parts of the character. That way, when you get in the crunch and you actually do end up finding those better teams that, even if they're not necessarily on comms, they just brought really strong builds, or they have really good game sense, you're not going to be up a creek without a paddle, because the only thing that you know how to do well is get value out of perks, which I know is something killers hate about the Survivor side, is just value out of perks. Don't be a perk slave. Don't restrain yourself to how much value you're getting out of perks. Be a full kit. Be really, really good at the character. Be really good at the killer role in general, and then use some slowdown. I'm not saying that it's a bad idea to like always stack, you know, slowdown. Obviously, if you're going for like a win streak or something, by all means, go for it. By all means, go for it. But when you're learning, when you're trying to improve, putting on a build that strong gives you false readings. It makes you think you're doing better than you are, and you're already at that level of consistency when you don't actually have it yet. It lies to you. So be careful about that. If you're looking for something, how to apply this more in moderation, I think my perfect 2 perks I would recommend to you as perks you can run that are still slow down, but don't necessarily play the game for you, or, you know, allow you to just kind of like make it as many mistakes as possible and never get challenged for them, are Deadlock and Corrupt, and probably both, to be honest. Deadlock, Corrupt are perks that are really, really good, but aren't really, really overpowered. They don't have any input required on your end either, so you don't need to spend time kicking with Pop or circling out a Scourge Hook with Pain Res. You just kind of like play the game. So if you're having a hard time hitting like Wesker Bounce, for example, because those are difficult, you can run something like Deadlock Corrupt, probably both. That way, you know, all that time you spend missing your M2s as you're trying to get better, hey, at least when that gen popped, the other one's blocked for a while. Or hey, at least they had to run across the map at the beginning of the game to go find a gen instead of just hopping on the nearest gen to them, because I had Corrupt on. Those perks are probably your best time buying perks to help you learn a character, but I don't think they're potent and strong enough to the point where like they erase your mistakes, because you definitely should be dealing with the effects of your mistakes. That way you can actually learn from them and actually improve. So I would recommend those 2 perks as the perks I would run if you still want to run slowdown, so you can learn a character, but not run, you know, like triple quad slowdown and the really, really good ones. That way you just never have to feel your mistakes ever. Yeah. What do you guys think about this? Do you think strong builds hinder your growth, or do you think they're fine? Maybe I'm just wrong. Let me know down in the comments below. But other than that, that's gonna be it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching. Other than that, I will see you tomorrow. But if I do not, I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.